Hello, Garland Nixon here, and it's time I had a chat with my dear and fluffy friends from the EU. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, and I'm gonna have a talk. And I don't know. It's just something that needs to be said. Maybe there's nobody on the planet listening. Maybe there is, but I don't know if it's a talk of anger, hope, whatever. But let me talk to the people of the EU. Some statements I need to make about what's happening there and why. And so, I look in the chat and I see some people say, God help us all, and are they going to nuke us, and blah, blah, blah. And are we in a world of deep and serious trouble? Yes and no. Here's what I mean. Yeah, right now, the people of Europe are being ruled by and let's put this as clear as possible. They're being ruled by people who are their intellectual and moral inferiors. The people of Europe, same as the United States, are being ruled by people who are their intellectual and moral inferiors. They're being ruled by people who are puppets for a foreign power, the United States, right? And and I use the word rule because when a government does not do what the people want, when a government does not represent the people, when a government takes actions that are detrimental to the people in a particular country, then they are not representing them. That's not democracy. They are ruling them. And when you are being ruled by people who are not acting in your best interests, then it becomes incumbent upon you to act. So here's what I mean. Okay, so you're afraid, oh my gosh, these people are going to get us killed. They're going to starve us. They're going to freeze us. It's some combination of that's going to happen. That's a fact. That's some combination. But the question is never what they're doing. The question is what you're doing. The question is, are you going to sit around and curl up in a ball and wait for them to stomp you into the ground, knowing that they're not looking out for you? What are you going to do? Are you going to sit around? I tell you one thing. You got to give credit for, if you look at the Middle East, you got to give credit to the Muslim community. You come in there and you're going to take over there. You're going to do whatever. The U.S. is going to go in there. It don't matter whether they lose or not. It doesn't matter whether it takes a year, 1,000 years. It doesn't matter if some of them die. They'll strap a bomb to themselves and find themselves an American and blow it to hell. Why is that? Because they refuse to allow people who are not representing them to take advantage of them. They know the US and the EU and the UK are there for the oil. They know what you're there for. They're not stupid. I don't care what their leaders tell them. And there are times when, more often than not, their leaders are not looking out for their best interest. But they ain't going to sit around and take it. So I'm like this. If I know what you're going to do, if I know that you ain't looking out for my best interest, the least I can do is act, or in some instances, fail to act. So you're looking at that and you're saying, well, look at our leaders. You got no leader in the UK. You don't have a leader. Right or wrong? Look what's plopping now. You got Bojo, an incompetent bozo. He's out the door, and in comes Liz Truss, an embarrassment to the UK. She's not incompetent. The people of the UK shouldn't be mad at Liz Truss for taking the job. She's supposed to take the job. They shouldn't be mad at the ruling elite class for putting her in. They ought to put her in. If you're going to sit around and allow them to put Liz Truss, and you're just going to go along with it, right? And that's the problem I got with the EU. You're just going to sit around and wait for these degenerates These are people who are flying around on the Epstein plane one day, 26 times, Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, you name it. They're flying around on the Epstein plane. Your children are not safe in a room. Have you looked at Uncle Sniffy lately? Biden, he's sniffing all over children. My God, these people are degenerates. And we're allowing them to rule us. It's bad enough in the United States, but understand something. We're going to get it bad, but not as bad as you. We're going to get it bad. But look right now, your electric bill, everything's going through the roof. Mine ain't. Mine hasn't changed. I live in Maryland. Mine hasn't changed. I'm at the heart of the empire. I'm not happy about it. It eventually will, whatever, but it hasn't. But yours has gone to hell. Your energy bills have gone to hell. And they put these degenerates in place, these people who are traitors to their own country. They put them in place, and you sit there and complain about it, but you continue to go along with what they want. You know, let me say this. I got to give a lot of credit to the people of Eastern Europe. I saw this thing the other day that in Moldova, right? There's these huge protests, and they said Moldova's the poorest country in Europe. No, they're not. They are now the richest country in Europe. They're the richest in spirit. They're the richest in heart. Isn't that something? The poorest country in Europe, and they got the guts to go to the street and to demand that these degenerates that are running their country, get the hell out of office. And let me tell you something. From what I saw, I got faith in the Moldovan people. I got faith in them. They have had enough. And they realize that if they sit on their asses and they allow these lunatics to continue to rule them, not to represent them, to rule them. A government is supposed to represent you, and you are being ruled. And the people of Moldova are in the street. You know who I got a lot of respect for? The people of Haiti. Treated like crap, like dirt, robbed. The blind people are like, Haiti's rich. Haiti's a poor country. Haiti ain't poor. Haiti's got oil, gas, gold. You understand something? The U.S. empire, the U.K., the France, they're not in Haiti because they're poor. They're in Haiti because they're rich. And the people in Haiti are in the streets by the tens of thousands saying, screw this. They're not putting up with it. And you know what? The U.S. is ready to invade. And the Haitians are like, yeah, we got a bunch of guns. We're going to fight. I remember one time, you know why they're not invading Venezuela? I'll tell you why with all that gold. I've been to Venezuela. I've traveled around Venezuela. I've gone to the small towns and the mountains and the poor people and the peasants and talked to these people. You better damn sure not invade Venezuela. Tell you that right now. Why is that? I was in this place, it's called a Socialista village, right? And it was like, it looked like a small town, like a large apartment complex. And what it was under Hugo Chavez, they gave, they built houses for the poor. The U.S. had, if you got to understand history, the U.S. had controlled the oil for like the last century and just robbed all the oil out of Venezuela. And the people of Venezuela were very, very poor. And the U.S. was getting even richer, stealing all their oil. That's what the whole Venezuela thing is about. And Chavez comes in, nope, sorry, it's our oil. And he starts doing things. And one of the things that he did was start building these like huge apartment complex for the poor and giving them away to the poor. Well, hell, they've been robbed for the last 100 years. Probably a good thing to do, right? They weren't poor because they were lazy. They were poor because they had been stuck up by a bunch of stick-up artists. Okay. So I'm out in these little teeny towns, way out in the middle of nowhere. And I remember these women who, a few of them could speak English. Right? Little town. And they shook their fist and they told me, when you go back, you tell the Americans we will fight for our democracy. Where the hell is that in Europe? Where is that? Where is the little woman with her fist saying, damn it, we may go down, but you ain't doing this to us? I'm not seeing that in Europe. Are the people of Europe just going to die on their knees? Are they going to starve? Are they going to freeze on their knees, ruled by liars, criminals, traitors to their own country, and degenerates? Is that how you go out? I'm not going to say these idiots aren't going to get you nuked, aren't going to get you frozen, aren't going to get you whatever. But are you just going to go out on your knees crying? Oh my God, what are they going to do to us? I got to bring my last video. I talked about Olaf Scholz. I got to bring Scholz up again because this is the perfect analogy. What happened? Biden tells Scholz, hey, come over here to the US. He comes over there, stand next to me, you freaking idiot. And Olaf stands there like a puppy. And he looks at him. And they ask Scholz first, hey, what's going to happen with Nord Stream 2? And he's like, oh, Nord Stream 2, we'll do whatever, right? And they ask Biden, and Biden says, we will stop Nord Stream 2. How will you do that? Don't worry about it. We'll stop it. And Scholz is just sitting there with his head down and his pants down around his ankles, waiting to be abused in any way that Joe Biden chooses. How pathetic. And that was the perfect analogy of what's happening in Europe right now. What's the difference between Olaf Scholz and the people of Europe? Sitting there looking at it. I mean, it's not like there's FDR or some great leader there that's going to bail you out. You ain't got that. You got Olaf Scholz, for God's sake. You got Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, or Rishi Sunak, or whatever Biden calls him. Look around, people of Europe. Look at your rulers. You think you chose Liz Truss? You think you chose Olaf Scholz? You think you chose these? You didn't even choose the people that are running your country to hell. You didn't even get to choose them. And now that they're in power, if that's the word it is, they ain't in power. Now that they are a conduit, now that they are nothing but a path, a tool for the US empire to use to destroy your economy, to wipe your economy out, to take everything that you have, that you and your ancestors have fought for. And the best you can do is cry, oh my God, what are they going to do to us? I mean, somebody needs to tell you, it's getting kind of sickening over here, watching you people. Somebody's got to say, come on, dudes. You know, I'd like to talk about my karate instructor for just a second. I'll never forget his son. One time he had just opened up a new school. This is a while back, and he has a son, and he had taught his son, martial arts from before. I mean, he said before he could talk, I had him doing his kicks, right? And one day he was at a gas station, and my instructor was opening a new school that day, and he said, he was late, and he's never late, and I never figured what happened. When his son finally got there, here's what he found out. He was at a gas station, and he's getting gas, and a guy walks up with a gun to rob him. Boom, sticks the gun out. Now, at that point, he could cry, he could poop itself, he could fall to his knees and beg this guy, please don't kill me. He was trained, he was prepared, he was brave. And he knew, I don't know that I'm going to survive this, but I'm going out fighting. That's what he knew. That's what you're taught and trained. Because you know how these crazy people are now. You give them your money, they come to rob you, they'll shoot you anyway. You know that. That happens every day. The people, they put their gun in, they put their gun in somebody's face. Somebody drops to their knees, please don't kill me. Okay, give me your money. You hand me your money, boom, they shoot you anyway, right? He knew he wasn't willing to sit around and allow his fate to be in the hands of this degenerate with a gun. Which you might want to listen to this story if you're in Europe. So what did he do? He knew certain things. I need to distract him. I need to get him to look away, right? And he was well trained. So he says, my wallet, it's right there. It's in the, he points in and he says, it's in the armrest. You know, the car, a lot of American cars have an armrest. You pull up the armrest, you can put stuff in there. It's in the armrest. It's in our armrest. The guy's, give me the money. Give me the money. It's in the armrest. It's in the armrest. Let me get in the armrest. And the guy made a critical error. He looked at the armrest, and that was his ass, right? He looked at the armrest, and of course, in a proper manner, as he was trained, he got control of the gun with both hands, and he drove the gun up, so it's now pointing up this way. Now he's got control, and puts the guy's arm against the car, and he twists it back for all he's worth, and the guy didn't let go of the gun, so he took his body and he torqued everything he had, snapped the bone sticking through the guns goes flying. At that time, the guy comes up with another punch. He blocks the punch. Pow! He said he saw the guy's eyes go up in his head. That was it. That was it. He went out, and it could have not worked. He could have been killed, but he was going out fighting. What do you think I'm telling you that for? If you're saying, are they going to nuke us? I ain't saying it ain't going to happen. Are they going to freeze us or starve us? Not saying it ain't going to happen. Could happen. But is it going to happen with you curled up in a corner with your thumb in your mouth, putting your future in the hands of Ursula von der Leyen, for God's sake? Have you looked at this woman? Have you listened to her? Is there any doubt why this woman is supporting the Azov battalion, let's say? You look at the listener, you look at that smirk on her face. The smirk that says, you little scum, your life is worth nothing to her. Angelina Baerbock, have you looked at these people and listened to them? Baerbock's like, yeah, we are going to support Ukraine. I don't care. It doesn't matter what the voters say. We're supporting Ukraine. Again, ain't no wonder she's supporting the Azov battalion. She said to your face. It's not like she was like, hey guys, if you don't mind, guys, I like to continue to, support the Azov battalion, and, we're going to support Ukraine, and hopefully, we can all work this. No, she didn't. She gave you the finger. She looked at her own voters and she said, you go to hell. You sicken me. I don't care if you suffer. I don't care if you die. I don't care if you freeze. I don't matter. You're going to go through whatever the hell I tell you to go through, and you're going to keep your damn mouth shut. That's what she said. And von der Leyen just smiles and grins all the time. A smirk, a sickening smirk on her face. And you know why she's smirking at you? Because she knows you're weak. Because she knows you're going to go along with it. Because she knows that she can go around. Recently, something happened. They were like, what was it? Musk takes over Twitter. And one of these, I don't remember what one of these friggin' mutts in charge of the EU said, yeah, the bird is going to fly the way we tell it to fly. You're saying, hey, man, I want to be able to put whatever I want to be able to say, challenge the government, challenge authority on Twitter. And what are your leaders saying? Screw you. You will dance the way I tell you to dance. And that's that. Let me ask you something. Europe, why the hell are you going along with that? What is your problem? Why? Why are you going along with that? Why are you getting up, playing along with the game? Why are you going to work every day, going to school every day, paying your taxes, doing every damn thing that they tell you to do as they drive your ass off a cliff? You got to be crazy. You have got to be out of your mind. You got to be either stupid, insane, or just plain weak, or some combination of the three. And I know I sound like I'm ranting, but I'm pissed. And I'm not pissed at you. I'm pissed for you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe nobody said this to you. Maybe nobody kind of grabbed you and shook you a little bit, said, hey, wake up. Them sons of bitches ain't your bosses. You're their bosses. They don't rule you. Imagine 10 people standing around in a room. 10 people standing around in a room. All of them 6'9", 380 pounds of solid muscle. And some little guy walks in and he's 5'1", and he's a little chump, a wimp, and he tells them all what to do. And they all sit down and whine and cry and say, yes, sir. That's what's going on in Europe. Think about this. 500 million people, 500 million people in Europe being drawn to hell, thrown off a cliff by a dozen degenerate morons. Come on, wake up. A dozen. We can name them. Baerbock, von der Leyen. And let me say this. Who are you going to blame? A couple months ago in France, you got an election, you're voting for Macron. You're voting for Macron, and you're going to get mad. Don't go to the streets in France. Don't waste your time going to the streets. You put this asshole in power. take whatever he's going to do to you, unless you're going to wake up and say, well, perhaps we made a mistake. Well, we didn't want to vote for so-and-so or this person or that person. I'd vote for a dog before I'd vote for Macron, a Rothschild banker. Let me ask you this, guys. Macron's a Rothschild banker. What did you think you were going to get out of a Rothschild banker? What did you really think you were going to get? You already knew what you were going to get. You already got years of what you were going to get. And somehow you thought, well, he's better than fill in the blank. There's nothing you could have done. And wait a minute. Let me add one more. We couldn't vote for him because the other person might have did this or that. Would they have gotten you nuked? You're sitting around and the missiles are falling, the mushrooms of clouds are going up, your women and children and everybody running in all different directions, dying. And what are you going to say? Yeah, well, we had to vote for Macron because the other person would have been worse. How could the outcome that you're getting right now possibly be worse? How could it be worse? I don't know how it could be worse. Look at the questions that you're asking in the chat. Look at the questions that people are asking. Biden and these idiots, yeah, let's send some more nukes over. They don't give a shit if you get nuked. They're ready to, if you piss Biden, he'd probably nuke you himself. If Russians, you don't want to nuke them yet. Can we nuke them, please? He don't give a shit about you. You're nothing to him. And he feels about you the same way your leaders feel about you. And you know why they do it? Because you will do absolutely nothing about it. And until you do, they will continue abusing you. And as sad, and I hate to say this, but this is the kind of guy I am. I'm sorry. I'm an old school kind of tough guy. They should. They should. P.T. Barnum, you've heard me say it once, you heard me say it 100 times. P.T. Barnum said, it's a crime before God and nature to allow a sucker to keep his money. And if you're nothing but sheep, you're going to get sheared. So you got to understand something. The people in charge of you actually are your shepherds, but they can only be shepherds if you're sheep. And here's what I mean. Here's what I mean about shepherds. And this is the perfect analogy. Oh, the perfect analogy for the EU. Listen. You got a bunch of sheep here, and there's the shepherd. And what does the shepherd say? I'm going to protect you from the wolves. So we're all staying in the middle of this meadow, and out in the woods are wolves. And these wolves are going to eat you. They're going to get you. They're howling, and I'm going to protect you because if they come in here, they're going to tear you to shreds, right? So you huddle around and you hide behind the shepherd. Oh boy, the shepherd is protecting us from the wolves, right? These shepherds, von der Leyen, Scholz, Smoltz, Boltz, Holt, who the hell ever, they're protecting you from the wolves. But why? Let me ask you this. You ever know anybody to keep sheep? What do they keep them for? What is the ultimate end? When it comes down to it, what plan does this shepherd have for the sheep? Ever heard of mutton? Lamb shank, lamb chops? You see, my friends, the shepherd spends all the time telling you that he's protecting you from the wolf. But why? Because he's going to eat you himself. He's going to shear off all your wool. Every time you get a little bit of wool, he's cutting it off. You'll be shivering. He's got a nice warm blanket. Wool, fresh cotton wool, whatever, right? A nice wool blanket. You're shivering and freezing in the meadow. And then when he looks at you and you're looking kind of plump, hey, what's happening? Well, we got a wedding coming up and a whole lot of people going to be hungry. And he's looking at you. You're looking at him. He's looking at you. I think we know how that's going to end up. He's going to cut your stinking throat, hang you up by your feet until you bleed out. He's going to skin you. And you, my friend, are going to end up getting turned over and over some nice hot coals. And they're going to party on your carcass. You see, that's what happens to sheep. Ultimately, shepherd's not there for in your best interest. And that's where you are. You got a bunch of people, a dozen or so people who are just telling. And here's the thing. It would be bad enough if there actually were a wolf there and they were actually protecting you from the wolf. Because you'd be like, yeah, well, hey, look, Garland, look, let's start here. There's a wolf out there. And what am I going to do? I got to start by not getting eaten by the wolf. There ain't even no wolf, my friends. If you were to wander out in the wood, you know what you'd see? Like a boom box and a tape recorder with some wolf howls that they've recorded. Oh, one day, one of the sheep would wander over to the edge of the meadow and he says, I'm curious. Guys, I think maybe there ain't no wolf. Of course, you know what would happen, don't you? The rest of the sheep would go, yeah, there's that stupid conspiracy theorist. Oh, there ain't no wolf. Oh, dumb conspiracy theorist. And eventually that sheep would say, well, I'm going to go look. You're going to die, you dummy. You're a conspiracy theorist. You've been watching that stuff on the internet again, listening to Garland Nixon. And finally that sheep would wander into the woods and he'd say, hey guys, what? There ain't no wolf. Look, and he'd hold up the little radio and it's a recording of wolf calls going, oh, and he'll say, guys, we've been had. The shepherd has been telling us he's protecting us from a wolf, but there ain't no wolf. And of course, the sheep would then all say, you and your stupid conspiracy theories, we ain't listening to you, because that's what sheep do. Anything that goes against what they already believe, no matter how powerful the evidence is, they're going to call you a conspiracy theorist. But who cares? You got to do what you got to do. And so here's what I'm saying to the people of Europe. You can't cooperate. Now, I'm saying, first of all, let me say this. I'm a person that I don't believe in violence. Nothing the state loves more than violence. They want to use violence. They want to expand with violence. So if you use violence, they'll use violence back. So here's what I got to say. Ultimately, I'll put it like this. They can put a gun to your heads and they can say, you got to go to work. And you can say, you can shoot me, but you can't make me go to work. You see, everybody in Europe could say, look, you got a country here. Let's say Germany. What makes Germany? You got factories. You got to have people in them, don't you? You got transportation. You got workers, government employees, municipal employees, people that clean the people that do all kinds of things, right? People got to do that or you don't have a country. These leaders got to have somebody to lead or there's no country to lead. They're taking you off a cliff. One way or the other. It could be nuclear war. I doubt that, but anything's possible. It could be that you freeze and starve and your children freeze and starve. That could be your fate. Trust me, at this point, your fate ain't looking real good. The future is not looking very bright for the European continent. So to me, what the people of Germany have to say is, here's what we want. We want our gas turned the hell back on, however you do it. And if you don't, we ain't going to work. Your factories are closed. Your trains ain't running. Nothing's happening. What's going to happen if you have a country and nobody shows up? General strike until we get what the hell we want. You don't rule us. We rule you. And if you don't believe it, you watch. See, you can't talk to these people. They're not sensible and rational people, as Voltaire said. Any belief that is not founded in reason and logic will not be swayed by it. So you can't go, what do you think? You're going to have a town hall with Ursula von der Leyen? You might have do you think you could have had a town hall with that gentleman from Austria in the 1930s? Do you think you'd have had a town hall with him and that would have worked out well? That's how well a town hall with Ursula von der Leyen would work. They don't give a Baerbock. What do you think? Here's what I got to say. What does she have to do? She spit in your face. Angelina Baerbock has said to the people of Germany, I ain't listening to you. I don't give a damn about you. I don't work for you. Shut up. You disgust me. I'm going to do what I got to do and you'll do nothing about it. See, here's the worst thing about it. What happens? What do you do when somebody looks you in the face and they say, look, I'm coming to your house. Okay. I'm opening the front door and walking in. Okay. Oh, there's your wife. Yeah, I'm gonna have sex with her. There's your kids. Yeah, I'm slapping and beating the shit out of both of your kids. What about, I got some food in the refrigerator. I'm taking it. It's going with me. I'm taking a crap on your favorite white rug in your living room. And then I'm going to grab you by the back of the head and rub your face. I mean, they're just going to defile you and your home in every way. And they call you and say, I'm on the way to do that. And you open the door from them and stand aside and just watch them do it all. And what, thank them. And when they leave, and on the way over, you're sitting there going, oh no, what do you think they're going to do to me when they get here? They already told you what they're going to do to you. And if you let them in, I would almost think you want them to, or at least you don't have guts enough to push back. Yeah, but let me tell you a story. Again, I like to tell things. I was a kid when, grew up around the water. And one day I'm walking along the waterfront on this creek. Beautiful places. I live along, growing up along the Chesapeake Bay, and where I live, we could ride our bikes every day down to the shore, and we fishing and crabbing and swimming, and oh, it was wonderful, right? And one day I'm a little kid. I don't know nothing. I don't know much. I'm 10, 11, 12 years old. And I see a duck with several little ducklings. And I'm like, oh, those ducklings are so cute. So my thought is, just like a puppy or a kitten, right? I'm 9 or 10 years old. You see a puppy or kitten, you go pick it up, right? I'm going to go over there and I'm picking up one of those ducklings. Now, keep in mind, what does a duck weigh? 5 pounds, 6, 7 pounds or something, right? I walk over and I proceed towards the duckling and I reach for the duckling, and that was my error. This duck jumped up and it's right here, literally beating me in the face with its wings, pecking at me in the air. It flies up and pretty much attacked me. And I'm like, feathers, oh my, holy shit. And down he goes, and I run the other way and stand there and look him up. Holy crap. Well, I learned my lesson. Don't mess with a duck. Now, think about this. I could have taken my hand and wrung that freaking duck's neck. Now, I didn't know that, but I could have. Could have killed the duck at any given time. I knew it. The duck knew it, but the duck didn't give a shit. The duck's like, you ain't taking my kids. You got to go through me, bro. You going to take my kids. You got me. At the time I was a kid, let's say I was 65 pounds and he was 5. I outweigh him 65 to 5. But the duck was like, you getting those ducklings, you got to go through me. As long as I'm alive, those ducklings ain't going to be available to you. Once you get done with me, you can do what you want to. That duck was given its life without a thought, because I wasn't getting my hands on these ducklings. And I didn't even mean on doing bad to the ducklings, but he didn't know it, didn't care. Europeans, you ain't got kids? You got kids. These are your children's future. These are your children's present. They're going to ask us to go freeze to death. And you don't have the guts of a freaking mallard duck to stand up. And it's the opposite. It's not like you're 5 pounds and Ursula von der Leyen is 65 pounds. You got a dozen idiots running the EU and the EU countries. You got 500 million people that will not stand up to them like a stinking duck. You should be ashamed of yourselves to allow that to happen to you. The people of Europe should be ashamed to a point where, and I got to say this, if you get screwed, if you will allow a bunch of Epstein plane riding on degenerates to do that to you, they just ought to. I know it doesn't sound good. I know it doesn't sound like a good thing to do. But let me tell you something, and I've said this. Why does Garland talk like that? Because that's the way I came up. I've said it over and over again. Maybe this is new for some people. My dad was a longshoreman. He grew up on a farm. And a lot of people know. My dad said, I was a little kid and I had to be up at 4:30. And he was like 8 years old. You know how it is. Back in those days, you lived on a farm. You were a kid. It wasn't that. We pamper our kids. You're 8 years old now. Hey, son, here's a cell phone at 8. Oh, what do you want? I don't know. Look, I'm guilty as anybody. One daughter spoiled her to hell. Yeah, but it wasn't that way back then, was it? It was not that way. Little kid, you're old enough to carry a bucket of water, you take it down there and give it to the damn animals. Dark. They didn't have no flashlights. He had like a little hurricane lamp. They didn't have literally, they didn't have electricity. They were poor, so they had to survive. So guess what? You go down there, you feed the animals at 4:30 in the morning before school, and he only went to the 3rd grade. Why? Because he had to get out and work because they were poor, right? So the bottom line is this. They did what they had to do to survive, and they were tough. And my dad grew up tough, and he became a longshoreman. You know how much you know about it? Unloading ships in the winter ain't all that easy. You're on the water, it's blowing 30 miles an hour, and it's 15 degrees outside. It ain't easy work. Winter, 105 degrees in Maryland, and the sun is overhead, and you got on a hard hat and gloves and heavy shoes because you got to unload stuff. Then you got to lift stuff. It's hard, difficult work. And chumps and weak people can't do it. And my dad did it. And I say this, that's why I talk like this, because that's what my dad would have said to me. If I came whining to him, Dad, oh, they're going to do me, and they're going to say, what the hell? Get your ass up. Like, oh, get out there and do something about it. Well, they're going to take my lunch money. Oh, no, they ought to take it if you're that weak. That's the way I came up. Sorry about that. You might not like it, but I think it's a shame that we don't have a generation of people that have grown up that have a pair, that have enough backbone and spine. You know what kills me? People will look at the Congress, Parliament. They don't have a spine. They don't need a spine. They got sheep under them that are doing any damn thing they tell them to do. What do they need a spine for? They're getting paid all kinds of money. They're flying around the world doing whatever the hell they want to. As I said, they can get on Epstein's jet. They can, God knows, do what with little kids or whoever they choose. Then they can rub Epstein out, and they can just go back to whatever they're doing. And we'll just go back to what we won't ask any questions. We won't be like, hey, we ain't putting up with that shit. We got kids, man. We're not going to allow you. No, we won't. Okay, next. What? They got no respect for us, nor should they have respect for us. They shouldn't have respect for us. For us to allow that to happen, think about this. Would you respect someone that would allow you to walk over them like a freaking rug? No, you would not respect them. You know what you do? You'd walk over them like a rug. And that's what rugs are for, to be walked on. And so now I'm looking at 500 million people being ruled by 12 friggin' fools and idiots and degenerate liars, and wondering why their fate is going so bad. Hey, who's in charge? Well, we got Joseph Borrell, we got Ursula von der Leyen, Olaf Scholz, we got Macron or Bojo, some form of Bojo, Liz Truss, and was a Rishi Sunak. And then, of course, on the other side, we got Biden and Kamala Harris, whoever the hell. Gee, I wonder why things are going so bad, guys. I can't figure it out. Yeah, shocking, amazing. Count the number of people I just counted. How does that number of people take 500 million? And I haven't even added the 330 million over here, because we're being told we're behind you. We're not where you are. We're not being shot to hell quite yet. We're going there, but you're first in the furnace. And as an American, let me be selfish. If you stop yourself from going in the furnace, clearly we can't go in behind you, can we? If the furnace doesn't have any fuel to burn, the fire is going to go out, and I don't get burned either. So if you in Europe do not allow them to burn you, there's no fire. They never get to us. So here's my question, Europe. If you see what's going on, why don't you act? How can you allow von der Leyen, Baerbock, whoever the hell, to do this to your own kids? You had a future. You grew up. You got a job. Some of you went to college. Some of them you didn't. You went to, remember this? You went to the pub and you got a brew. The soccer match was coming on. It's Sunday. Oh, it's whatever day. Saturday, there's going to be a soccer match. You all go to the pub with your friends and you get a nice pint. Oh, it's good ale, mead, whatever the hell it is, and you are enjoying it. Why? You worked hard all week. You had a job. You came home. You turned on the heat. Remember when you used to turn on the heat at home? You turn on the heat. It was toasty warm. You cooked something. Your wife, your girlfriend, whoever the hell, you got something nice, something to eat, or you stopped and got some fish and chips. Maybe whatever, right? Maybe a brat or something. You did all the things that life in a privileged society allowed. You were a young single guy. You went to a bar. You met pretty girls. You dated some. You married one. You had 2.5 kids in a minivan. You lived a reasonable and respectable life. You had fun. You had a future. And now you got kids. And what is the von der Leyen, Baerbock, all of them? What are they doing to your kids? That ain't there for them, friends. That's not there for them. And the only thing between those children and a future that at least is, I mean, you can see they've taken your current present to hell, but the only thing between those little children sitting on the floor playing with their toys, they don't know what's going on. They think they got a future. They think they got a present. They don't know the gas and the lights are about to go out this winter. And they'll be looking at you, Mommy, I'm cold. And they'll freeze. Why are my toes gone? They froze off. And you'll be sitting there saying, oh, I hate this. Why do I do this to myself? And they will be sitting around saying, you know, why am I suffering like this? And what are you going to say? Well, here's the way it goes there, little Jimmy. Me and these other 499.999 million people are sitting around letting a dozen assholes drag our society to hell. Can you look them in the face and say that? Can you look your kids in the face and say that? Knowing that not only the ones that survive, that don't freeze to death this winter, what does their future look like? You know what? I mentioned Haiti. That's what their future looks like. Haiti. I mentioned Haiti. Why? The people in Haiti, I was talking to, I know a guy who is really big in Haiti, and he's really upset over what happens to the Haitian people, right? And he was there and he went to protests. And he said, I was talking to the people and they go, we take they take a sip of rum. They got a lot of rum. He said, everybody takes a shot of rum before we go to the protest. And he says, I said, why? He says, to take the edge off the hunger, because they're always hungry because they never have enough food, and they can get a little bit of rice or this or that. But everybody's hungry all the time because they never have enough food. It becomes a way of life. You're always hungry, right? Think about that. But they're going to the protest anyway, hungry. They got to take a shot of liquor to take the edge off of the hunger, but they're going to go protest anyway because they may be hungry, but they're going to be hungry fighting. They're going to be hungry protesting. They're going to be hungry pushing back. They're not going to be hungry sitting on their asses hoping for people that despise them, people who see them as sheep and cattle to be shorn and slaughtered. They're not going to sit around waiting for these people to bail them out. And that's what's going on in Europe. You're sitting around waiting for these people to bail you out and wondering why it's just getting worse and worse, wondering why it's spiraling downhill. A couple months ago, well, that's Prince Andrew. He's been involved. He's being sued for chasing little girls. He's running around with Epstein. Oh, my God, he's doing all kinds of things. And next thing you hear, well, if Prince Charles is out of the country, Prince Andrew becomes the King of England. And you're just going to sit around and tolerate that. And you're going to get up and go to work and do what you're told. As these people tell you, you're going to do what you're told. Continue to do what you're told. Prince Andrew, these friggin', I hate to keep using the word, but that's the word. You're going to sit around and let these people who I'll put it like this. This guy, if he's at your house, if you see Prince Andrew at your front door, lock it. He's looking at your kids. He's peeping through the windows. Hey, got some nice little children there. Maybe I should come in and talk to him. Lock the door. Pull the shades down. Here's a man that you wouldn't allow in your house around your children. And you will tolerate. They're putting a freaking crown on this guy. Oh, and what happens if, this guy's in charge? See, it sends a message when you allow this. It sends a message every time somebody slaps you and you lay on the ground and you get up and they slap you again and you lay on the ground and you get up and you never push back and you just they slap you, you get up on the ground and they say, go get me a beer. And you go get them a beer and they drink it. And they throw, and you're like, they just throw, you know what they do? When they get finished with their beer mug, they throw it on the ground. They look and say, go get me another. When you do, they slap you again. And every time you go get it, every time you do that, you're sending them a message. Hey, man, I'm nothing but a chump. I got no heart. I got nothing. And they're going to keep doing it, and they should. I mean, I think about this. I'm looking at Germany. Why do I feel, and maybe I'm wrong. I had my issues with Angela Merkel. I have my issues with it. And I see somebody say that analogy is ridiculous. It may be. I don't give a shit. I'm not the one there. I'm not the one getting my ass kicked right now. It will be sooner or later. It may be ridiculous. Any analogy I give may be ridiculous. But in the end, you know what I'm saying is true. In the end, you know good and damn well that if the people of any given country in Europe were to say tomorrow, we're not going to work, we're not doing anything. Your refineries, we ain't running them. Your trains, we ain't running them. Your whatever you got, we ain't running it. We're not doing anything until we get some heat and electricity at a decent price. Until you go back and you do some negotiation to get us some energy again. We want it. And oh, by the way, in that damn war, because that shit'll get us nuked. And we don't want to get nuked. Until you give us what we want, we're not doing anything. Yet my analogies can be ridiculous, absurd, and stupid, and I could be wrong about everything. But here's the truth. If you don't do that, you ain't going to get nothing else other than what you're getting. And someone has to say that to you. And nobody seems to want to say that. Everybody sits around complaining about your leaders. You know who they are and what they are. Everybody gets together commiserating about how bad your leaders are. Man, they're terrible, aren't they? I agree. I agree. They're terrible. They're horrible. They're unthinkable. They're the worst leaders I've ever seen in the history of this world. There has never been leaders any worse than the ones that are running the U.S. and running the EU right now. But what does it say about the people of the EU that they will continue to follow these people, that they will continue to even recognize them as leaders? And what can you do? You got a couple choices. You can sit around and wait for them to fix it. Trust me when I tell you this, Ursula von der Leyen ain't gonna make it better. You know, here's the thing. Do you think Angelina Baerbock, Harbach, Robert Habeck, whatever his hell his name is, Scholz, Bojo, Truss, Macron, do you think any of them is going to spend one cold, hungry day this winter? Do you think any of them is going to turn down the heat in their palatial estate? Do you think Richie Sunak and all the houses he has pools that are heated? You think he's going to, he ain't even going to turn down the heat in his pool. You're going to turn down the heat in your house. He ain't even turning down the heat in his pool. How can you tolerate this? How can you? It's look. I understand they've been doing you wrong. I understand that they've been kind of screwing you over for a while, and our people have been screwing us, certainly. But you got to have a place where at some point you got to draw the line. At some point you got to say, look, I got to tell you, you've been screwing me, fair enough. But I got kids. I want my kids to have a future. I got kids. I want my kids to have a present. I can't do this any longer. I can't do it any longer. So here's what we're going to do. We're all going to get together. And we just ain't going to cooperate. You think you got a country? You geographically, you have a country. But a country is not geographic. A country is about people and businesses and culture. You ain't having none of that. What are you going to rule over, Macron? What are you going to rule over, Rishi Sunak? Hey, everybody, we got to keep our GDP going. And the people say none of us are going to work. Our GDP will be zero. Zero. That's what our GDP, because we ain't going to work. We're not doing this. I just think that, we're at a place where you're literally afraid. You got 500 million people in the EU who are literally afraid that they are all going to die at the hands of corrupt, incompetent leaders. I think that's far enough. We all got to have a red line, don't we? We all got to have a boundary. We all got to have a point where it says, okay, you can screw me over, but when it gets to this point, I'll stop. The point where you're afraid of being nuked, the point where even if you don't, you'll freeze to death, where your economy's gone, you'll be out of work, and your life it will be hopeless. Is that enough for a red line? Is that enough to say I've had enough? Or is there anywhere? Is there anything they can do to you How far can they go before you'll finally say, no more? Or you're just a bunch of people going to go around and the only thing you'll have left is a blue and yellow flag that you're flying out the window. I support Ukraine. All you got left. And they'll find your body laying there, frozen, stiff, and dead. But that blue and yellow flag will be sticking out the window. Can you be that stupid? Can you be that weak? Can you be that soft? I say to the people of Europe, the answer has to be no. The answer has to be no. And if the answer ain't no, don't come to me whining or anybody else about von der Leyen and Rishi, whatever the hell his name is. And if you see who they are, you know what they are. If you're going to stand up to them, stand up to them. If you ain't, just take whatever they give you. That's all. If you're not going to stand up to them, take whatever they give you. Look at, as I said, look at Haiti. Poor people, they got nothing. They're in the street. They're taking a hit of alcohol because they're always hungry. Look right now. You know what's interesting about that? The biggest, most profound, most pronounced marches are in Moldova and Czechoslovakia, are in the countries in Europe that are the poorer countries. Think about that. The poorer countries are the ones that are in the street demanding. They're not saying to the leader of Moldova, hey, can we work something out? Can we possibly, come up with a kind of no, they're making demands. We want out of NATO. We want this damn Russian gas back because that's the only way we can have a decent life. Oh, and by the way, we want you out of office now. Their demands are reasonable. And you know why they're reasonable? Because they're their demands. And they got a right to make their own demands. And I don't care what the newspaper says. I don't care what the puppets on TV say. The everyday people make up the country. And those are the people that have to stand up. And if they don't, it ain't gonna work out so well. Okay, so that's what I had to say. I don't know if people like it. I don't know if one person will watch this video. It doesn't make a difference to me because I didn't make this video because I want people to watch it. I didn't make this video because people need a message from Garland Nixon or anybody else. I made this video because I was pissed. I made this video because I'm angry. I ain't even there. I'm not even in Europe. And I'm angry to watch 500 million people sit around and have 6 people take their asses straight to hell. And they all just sit around twiddling their thumbs with a damn blue and yellow flag hanging out their window. It is just a pathetic, ridiculous, absurd farce that we're looking at here. It's a farce. If there's aliens watching right now, they are like, what do you think of these humans? Man, these people ain't shit, man. We could get me the hell off of this planet. These sons of bitches. I'm disgusted by it. You know what? There may be some aliens looking. They're like, what do you think? We should save the humans? Well, Meep Zorp. That's a good name for an alien. Hey, what do you think there, Meep Zorp? Reb Rock. I was thinking about saving the humans. Really? I've been looking at this for a while. I'm like, we got to save the humans. They're okay. But you know what? I don't know anymore. I mean, they're kind of weak. I mean, come on. What are we going to save them for? They're just going to get in the same position again. They don't have the guts to stand up. There's 1 or 2 of them here or there that have the guts to stand up. But as a group, in the aggregate, they're all sooner or later, they're going to get some idiot leading them again. They ain't going to do nothing about it. And they're going to be right in this position again. Do we have to come here every 100 years and save the humans? I just don't have it in me anymore. Screw them. And into their spaceship, into light speed, and back to the planet, whatever the hell. But they're out of here because we've disgusted them for the last. They've had it. They're done for the last time, and they feel like if we can't stand up for ourselves, then we don't deserve to exist. And you know what? Maybe they're right. I don't know. And they don't really exist because that was, a figurative speaking. I made up the alien story. It's not like I really know any aliens, but if I did, and they asked me, I couldn't give it an answer. They said, what do you think, Garland? I was like, aliens, I wish I could say you were wrong. Have a nice trip. Have a nice trip on your way back across the galaxy. Oh, by the way, you got an open seat in that in that flying saucer there, and maybe a little extra oxygen. Maybe I could fly with you, because get me the hell out of here with these people. I had enough. But maybe, just maybe, some of the people in Europe will hear this. Maybe some of them will wake up. Maybe some of them will stand up. Right. Somebody says Trump and his admin, what is it? Trump and his admin sent Zelensky 400 million in weapons in 27. Here's the thing about it too. And there's still people looking around thinking Trump's going to save them too. You know what I mean? I'm with you, buddy. Thinking this person's going to save them and that person's going to save them. We got a bunch of corrupt degenerates in charge. The only person, and let me end by saying this. The only people going to save Europe are the people of Europe. And you can do it if you want to. But if you don't have the guts, if you don't have the intestinal fortitude, if you don't have the get up and go, then nobody's going to do it for you. You're done. You got corrupt leaders. And either way, either Europe turns into Haiti, or, there's a third World War III and it goes, and you're asking how this happened. You know how it happened. I'll put it like this. It would be considerably easier to just stop cooperating, stop working, do a general strike, and replace these morons, force them to do what you want, than it would to be dealing with World War III, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be easier? Which is easier? Which do you think you'd prefer? Which would your kids prefer? Well, that's it. That's all I have to say. Thanks a lot, everybody. Let's look at, I think we got some super chats. Let's look, not many super chats, but here's somebody. Here's one. Let's look at Fragile. Fragile says, they do not understand it, Mr. Garland. Europe lived in harmony all these years, except the East Europe and the Balkans. They do not know about hunger and cold. This is why it's easy to manipulate them. Well, trust me, Fragile, they're going to find out. Fragile says, I do not feel sorry for Europe. Europe deserves it. After what happened to Yugoslavia by their own hands, now when it happens to them, they have to go through it to learn the lesson the hard way. You may be right, man. You may be right, Fragile. You may be in a situation where they only learn by pain. But you know what? Garland Nixon, they can't say that at any point that Garland Nixon did not honestly, in his heart, say to them, 500 million people are going to get their ass kicked by 6 degenerates. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me. Oh my gosh, we got some people on Rockfin. So let's start here. Gioha, thank you. We got Sergey Lubomodrov says, just sent my message without a tip, never use Rockfin, go figure it out. Thanks a lot, Sergey. Okay, next we got Peter Carrick. You got the best analogies, hands down. Finally got to catch your show live. We need more honest and frank analysis like yours. Thanks for your leadership against the COVID tyranny from Quebec. And you're right. It was only when our healthcare workers said, no, I'm way, and threatened a healthcare collapse. And then the government backed down. And months later, they dropped the vaccine passports in Quebec. Next, we got JVB. I'm shivering. Give me back my wool. Ronnie Graham says, as a European, I love your tough love. Thanks a lot, guys and girls and everybody. Thanks a lot. I certainly appreciate it. I may have seemed a bit animated, but man, I'm not making this shit up. I'm not like pretending here. I mean, that ain't my game. I don't have a game. This is how I feel. I get pissed. I don't like weakness. I don't like to see good people. I'm not saying this because I don't like the people of Europe. I'm saying this because I love the people of Europe. I don't like to see good, honest, hardworking people get abused, get mistreated like this, get screwed over like this. And I'm not in Europe, and I'm not your leader, and I'm not your president. I can't do anything, but I can say to you, get up, stand up, man. Get up off your ass before it's too late. Once wintertime gets here, man, once it gets cold, God only knows what's going to happen. And you know what? To some extent, I think they're lying to you. They're like, oh, we've got this amount of gas and that amount of gas. I've been reading a lot of things that leads me to believe that all this business about this stored gas may be kind of misleading, that you may be out of gas, you may be out of a lot of stuff a lot sooner. People telling you, think about this, rolling blackouts in the middle of the wintertime, and you don't know how long they're going to do. What are you going to do living in a city, in a high rise, and it's blistering cold, and they cut the electricity off 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, 3 hours a day? How's it going to get when it's horribly cold, 0 degrees, and they cut the electricity off every day for 3, 4 hours? Your stuff's freezing, everything's freezing. And then they tell you, bad news, we're just about out of energy. Come next week, Electricity is going to be off for a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks. We don't know when it's going to come back on. Is that really what, are you going to wait around for that to happen? I don't want to see that happen to you people. So I got to say what I got to say. And like I said, share this video if you believe in it. If you don't, nobody has to watch it. I just had to say it. I just was angry. I just was emotional. And I just had to say, don't stand around and put up with that bullshit, man. Don't stand around and put up with it. There's not a lot of them. There's not too many of them. They're not as powerful as you think. They will fold, but you got to make them fold. Let me say this about Scholz. You think you can overrun Scholz? What did Biden do to him? Biden showed you. Biden demonstrated to you how weak Olaf Scholz is. If he's that weak for Biden, once somebody shows you their weakness, take advantage of it. Olaf Scholz has showed you that he's weak. Now you take advantage of it. Biden took advantage of it. Now the people of Germany, it's your turn. You see he's weak, stomp him out. And I don't mean that physically. You see he's weak, force his ass to do what you want him to do. He has no choice, and he's weak. You see these people are weak and incompetent and inept, and if you force them, they'll do it. They're scared of you, but they don't want you to know it. Thanks a lot, you guys. Certainly appreciate it. You see all this stuff going along the bottom. If you get a chance to help keep the channel going, of course, patreon.com/Garland Nixon. If you can do $3, $5, $100 a month, whatever you can do a month is greatly appreciated. Buymeacoffee.com. You can go to Buy Me a Coffee. You can do a couple bucks or something to help me out there. Cash App, anything to help keeping the channel going. Of course, Rockfin.com. As you can see by listening to something like this, they're about to throw my ass off of YouTube. That wouldn't surprise me after a video like this. But go to Rockfin, ROKFIN.com/Garland and make sure that everybody that watches this video both likes it on YouTube and goes to Rockfin and becomes either a subscriber or a member. Just so you know, on Rockfin, a member, it's free. You can watch 99.9% of my stuff. There's only one show that I do now that you won't be able to see. Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. for 1 hour. I do a show with Scott Ritter. And in that show, we do a weekly update of the Ukraine war and things of that nature. You know, Scott's brilliant. He updates us on that. If you want to see that premium show and any other premium shows on Rockfin, there's lots of great shows. All the premium stuff, you can become a member or a subscriber, excuse me. A subscriber on Rockfin's $9.99 a month, $9.99 a month. Or if you do a year, it's a lot cheaper. But at any rate, if you can afford to become a subscriber on Rockfin, that would be a great help to keep the channel going and strengthen the channel. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just enjoy everything on it. And thanks a lot, you all. And much love to everybody. And hope maybe somebody listens to this. Maybe not. Share it on all your platforms. Peace. I'm out.